So those of you who have followed the metal scene or the metal idea for a while knew exactly what Howard Jones was going to be getting himself into after leaving Killswitch Engage. We knew that he was going to be hooking up with former members from the Fear Factory, from Bleeding Through, from All Shall Perish, and they were going to form a band called The Devil You Know. Now, whenever I think of The Devil You Know, I think about either the Supernatural episode or the Econoline Crush album from the 1990s. But that's just me. By the way, if you can find that Econoline Crush album, it's not metal, it's more alternative, but it's definitely a good one. However, the band itself, Howard Jones' new project, has recently released their debut, The Beauty of Destruction. Now, from the title of the group and the title of the album, immediately, if you do not know who Howard Jones or any of these people are, either that or just were looking at this casually with absolutely no knowledge of what was going on, you might think to yourself, great. Another one of those bands that decide to use some potent, line as their title, as their band name, and, use some random freaking amalgamation of words for their title that just sounds brutal and probably wouldn't be all that interested into it. However, knowing that Howard Jones, formerly of Killswitch Engage, is in it, that may change your tune. Now, yes, this definitely does have a melodic metalcore sound to it. It does have some traces of groove metal. There is a lot of Fear Factory that I'm hearing in some of these songs as well. Yeah, it's not going to have that dense mechanical feel that you might remember from such great albums that the Fear Factory has released. But instead, this is something where it's more of a tonal thing. It's more something that you hear subtly, something that perhaps you just think about casually as you're listening to this album. So it's something where you're not going to pick it up like it's a blinding light at the end of a very, very long and perhaps very, very dull tunnel. This is instead something that whenever you're listening to this, perhaps not even for the first time, but perhaps something you'll notice whenever you listen to the second or third, you'll just start to think to yourself, this tone reminds me a lot of Fear Factory. I kind of dig it. I like it. Howard Jones, his voice sounds very, very good on this album. He's able to really teeter-totter his way between his cleans and his growls very, very nicely, and I really think that the shine, at least for me, definitely is more so on his cleans on this album. I think that they have a lot more punch to them. Now, we know that he has the capability. He showcased them a lot whenever he was in Killswitch. So this is not necessarily something that was, all that new. However, it's something where on this album they just seem like they pack a little bit more of a wallop. Maybe it's the fact that he's, trying a couple of different things on some of these tracks, kind of bending his voice in ways that perhaps you never would have considered or never would have done with Killswitch in a more conventional setting. But rather with the myriad of different influences that are coming full circle here with the, various members of this project, it definitely gives you the opportunity to sample something that's maybe a little bit out in left field for maybe even what you would consider. But all things considered, this is an album that I definitely have to say has its strengths, but it also does have a couple of noted weaknesses. Definitely the strengths are in the tone, it's in the songwriting, it's in the way in which everything seems to be neatly packaged and delivered, and the flow is also very nice. This is not something that's going to slow down its pace just to hopefully, have you keep up. This is instead something that's going to keep on going, and it does have a nice spattering of variety here and there. Now, the weaknesses that I can see on this album, and definitely hear on this album, considering that's the principal sense of the human body that is being triggered here, is the fact that there are some weak tracks on this album. Ones that definitely feel a little bit more run-of-the-mill, as opposed to really having the excitability factor that is really present on some of the others. Some of the others really showcase a lot more of that diversity, and really showcase this project as something that may actually infuse some things into the metalcore scene, or the melodic metalcore scene, or the groove metal scene, or the groove metalcore scene, or the groove core, or what the fuck ever. This definitely has the potential to kind of inject some different ideas into this that perhaps will be used by other bands and be tailored as, and touted as influential. However, there are others that definitely seem to just be following the protocol and definitely aren't exactly, going on to some new territories. There's a battleship pun in there somewhere, but my head just decided to explode because somebody sank my fucking mental battleship. Thank you! Overall, this is an album that I think is worthy of a lot of the praise that it's been getting from a couple of other different media outlets, a couple of other different reviewers. However, I don't know if it's as good as they say it is. It's certainly one that, during its first playthrough, it definitely spoke to me as one that had some memory to it. However, after the subsequent plays that occurred directly afterward, it kind of lost that memory a little bit. It definitely borders along the lines of, hey, this is a debut album, and hey, this is a supergroup that's essentially getting to know one another and really hone their sound together. So this is something where there may be a couple of bumps in the road. That's the thing with supergroups. You might think that, hey, these are all world-class musicians and bands that we love. Bringing them all together, that's kind of a match made in heaven, right? Well, you still have to have a bit of a romance with the other members in your band, and by that I mean you got to get to know them, not to mention you probably need to share some meals. And then you can get to the whole, knocking out exactly what you want to do with songs and piecing things together to a way in which it's going to sound kind of cool, not to mention potentially revolutionary. That didn't exactly happen with this album. Instead, this is one that certainly bleeds the convention a little bit, but at the same time also is really working to tweak it a little bit and give it a little bit more character. Maybe add a little something to the convention. That way it doesn't feel quite so conventional, I suppose. This would be an album I'd probably give a 77 out of 100 to. This is certainly an album that has a lot of strong points and a lot of strong periods to it, but the punctuation as a whole can sometimes seem a little bit scattered. What did you guys think about this album? What did you think about The Beauty of Destruction by The Devil You Know? What do you think about this project? Do you think that this is a good post-Killswitch endeavor for Howard Jones? Do you think it's a very good post-other band listed here endeavor for the other various members of this project? And what are your overall thoughts on metalcore in general? Is this something that perhaps I need to address in a video of, all about metalcore? Metalcore. If you liked the video, of course, feel free, and please, comment and subscribe and leave it a like. All those things help me out. That way I can continue to deliver the best reviews to you, the viewer. Without that, I am nothing. Without that, I have no voice, mainly because I wouldn't have money. No, I'm kidding. It would just be a lot more difficult. I will talk to you guys later. Keep it metal.